Sunday, 9th of April 2023. This is my mobile phone charger. It's got a magnet on the bottom. So I put this there to make it unique when I'm doing this video. Titled My Sexual Preferences from a Christian Perspective. I've changed my mind. Hadn't had the best sleep. I had a rude awakening at 7 in the morning. A couple having sex. This time it was quieter. Probably they had the windows shut, but I could still hear them. And she sounded like a goose or a wild duck. So that makes it more urgent for me to do a video, because apparently the narcissist leader in my community is dictating to me to speed up my videos as if they're in some type of competition or an unfair challenge to say I must do my sex video, what my preferences are. No, that's not why I'm doing the video. Earlier I originally had said this is going to be put on my social media by the end of April, and I've decided to change my mind and do it this weekend just after Easter. The reason being is because the corruption in the government and social construct is saying it's okay and perfectly acceptable to create pollution, but it is not okay to allow to reproduce, to have population control. That's not okay. We have to control it by the means of abortion or by the means of abnormal practices such as extreme contraceptives. Now, I don't vote, but if I had a choice, if I was going to vote anti-abortion or pro-abortion, I would choose anti-abortion personally. But I'm pro-life. But however, I think this extreme activity is happening, the imbalance is happening when it comes to the government and politics, because there should be an equal amount of options available at every abortion clinic for adoption. There should be an equal amount of option available for contraceptives and family planning. And when you go into a clinic as a couple, but I had never gone in as a couple because it was imposed or forced on me since I was very young, out from a church from age 15, like as I said in one of my other videos, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, so I've been on it for a while because it was imposed on me from not having a normal upbringing and family, being from a boarding school. And so it's the same as grooming a young girl. So it's going to the extreme. It isn't balanced. That's what I'm trying to say, that it should be. Out of people's choices, so they say it's a humanist thing rather than a religious thing. It's a human right. Abuse. To block a woman from choosing to have an abortion. It's her body. she can do with it what she likes. So according to the God's ways, I think it's acceptable to find ways you can naturally have an abortion or miscarry within the 2 weeks of pregnancy by having sex, and then you would probably have a miscarriage if you don't want to keep the pregnancy. If that's not possible, then you're responsible to do it yourself. It's not killing a baby because it's 2 weeks old. So that is a natural, normal type of abortion. And after all the attempts of terminating the pregnancy fails, after 2 weeks, it becomes murder after 3 weeks of pregnancy. So it is a serious subject, and the point is, if you don't want children, don't have sex. Also, my viewpoint on women choosing to have sex at 7 in the morning because she's working night shifts is not normal. Or any other excuse that she wants to dominate the neighborhood with her sex noises at 7 in the morning is not normal. So my personal sexual preference is identified in this video. And also the time. So I'm very sensitive to time. It would have to be obviously at night time rather than the morning. If it is in the morning, it will have to be on special occasions, and probably during holiday times when we are out of the neighborhood, out of the home foundation into a holiday foundation. So it's a different environment. It's a new thing, because it's not normal, and it's creepy to do that to people. It's inconsiderate to do that to people, and it's a type of a witchcraft when it's not considered or responsibly done. So during a holiday, I would not normally choose a hotel. I would choose my own place, such as a rented cottage or a little accommodation for holiday, rather than in a hotel, because again, I don't want to practice witchcraft. Well, so talking about the forest being symbolic to breathing and your lungs, inhale and exhale. And how is that significant for sex? Because there's a lot of wildlife there, and the forest is there as a shelter as well. So the aim is that the animals are not kept in cages, and it is shaded. So that's how sex should be. It should not be forced as a type of an animal in a cage for breeding programs, and it should be shaded. The Bible says for couples to behave as though they're not couples in public. So that's the shady area, grey area, so that when the light does appear, it is not going to be a threatening type of light in the forest, that everybody's going to growl and grrr, get annoyed that there's too much sunlight and it's too hot for the animals. So it's a type of reminder that the forest is there where the animals have the shade and the protection to bury, to do the burrowing, and to be in a cave or some type of leafage, woodlands, what they use to make a nest for a home. So obviously I would not want to have sex with a man unless I know he's going to build a home with me. It's not good enough for me to say, come and move in with me, or for him to move in with me, vice versa, for me to move in with him. Once we have attempted to make our home and work in an agreement of what the priority is, what should be copied as a replica, and from my previous home and from his previous home, so to keep something old and to have something new. So what are you looking at? Do you have the same agreement? Do you see the same as I do? So that's the basic common way of knowing my limitations, knowing what I can and cannot do, and knowing when I have stopped doing something, when I start doing something. So that sensitivity is important, as when animals are using temperatures of movements and other sensitivities highlighted by their courting to mate. Similar to the human, we have our own personal needs. One of my personal needs to highlight would be the sleeping pattern, because I had been tortured and suffered so much trauma in my life. I would need to, I wouldn't say I'm recovering from post-traumatic stress disorder at the moment. However, what I would do is make sure that my emotional needs would be considered. If he doesn't, then a little bump into me here, a little bump into me there can be accidental emotional damage. So I'm very sensitive to that consideration, not to the point of whispering, but to the point of simply knowing, let your yes be yes and your no be no, and for him to understand me, how my body works, how my mind works, similar to understanding how a car works before you drive it, similar principle. Also with plants, you have to know what plant the seed is in the soil in order for you to grow it and take care of it. So each creature or creation has its own instructions, has its own uniqueness to identify in order to take care of it. So for example, if I had been sick or unwell, I would need my extra sleep. So my extra sleep is more important to me. And also washing routine. I would have to have a bath in the accommodation, because washing is also very important to me. I have been tortured for the past 9 years of not having basic sanitation. I have a shower in my property which isn't working. My door is broken. I have to fix it and repair it. And so it's a torture not to have that basic human sanitation. With water, I have to use powder, like dry cleaning creams and other things to clean and exfoliate my skin as a type of a bed bath. But my personal preference, obviously, for my recovery and wellness is to have a bath, because that helps me to sense my body, where it hurts and where it doesn't hurt, where I need to remove something or observe something on my body. I could see it better rather than standing in a shower. I cannot see it very well. Compared to sitting in a bath, I can see it better. So to outline my body and what it needs. So obviously washing is important. or however I'm doing it. What's more important is my sleep. So if he disturbs my sleep, he is emotionally damaging me and harming me. It's emotional abuse. So we have to have that mutual sensitivity and agreement. And if it's not possible, then maybe we could have a floating bed floating up to the ceiling like a spaceship. Where he could have a separate bed or in a separate room so that I could have my extra sleep if I'm not well or severely stressed out. So that's also the part of negotiating and making sure that there is I might as well use this on my eyebrows to make it look like... No, I won't do that. Yeah. So also referring to my notes in the book I made about sex. Some men identify sex as a lucky day. So it's very important for him to be sensitive for my menstrual period, because I don't want to have sex or have any accidents. If it's too close to my menstrual cycle pattern, that would not be right, and I don't want it. It's gross near my menstrual period. I don't want people or children peeking behind the door, or a small little voice, "Can I come in?" Obviously the children have to be out of the home. The animals or any panting dogs have to be out of the area, in a shed somewhere which is nice and warm. And rather than me living in the shed, I've had enough of living in the shed, which is the same as sickness and diarrhea. When you have a horrible grey door or a metallic door on a shed, or just it's not soundproof, it's not warm enough for a human. So what animals need is different from what humans need, obviously. So because I was like an outcast, orphan outcast, I didn't have any option. And so, I was thinking about maybe doing a video, like a short GIF, shorty of me preparing to have a shower today, where I'm no longer using a chair, disability chair. I'm using a type of a stool, a lower, where I can stretch my legs on the platform in my shower, even with my door broken. I'm thinking of doing that so that I can demonstrate in my towel, in my dressing gown, what it is like. But I may do without putting some musical backgrounds so people cannot hear me moaning and making noises in my shower. Do I sing in the shower? Not really. I'm not really a singing type of an individual in the shower much. Sometimes. My favourite preference for sex would be to have use a shower for sex, but because obviously it's cleaner that way. And I had a shower. I had a bath once with a man, only once in my entire life, and I didn't like it. We didn't have sex. We were going to, and I didn't like it. I was put off with the fact that I was in a bath with him, and it happened once in my entire life. I'm not going to say who it is. He was slim, I was slim, and we both fit in the bath, and it just didn't feel right. but if it's a jacuzzi and it's outdoors, then it's different. Would I want to have, yeah, so sort of water creature, aquatic, private place or land, outdoor sex is also my preference. Having low energy, so the woodland area outdoors is also the right place for sex because it has plenty of fresh air. So the more fresh air there is, the more energy boost. There's vitamin D from the sunshine, and it's more exciting. It has more sensuality, more senses from the animals nearby, from the elements around us. So it's as if there's ghosts around us that are not too invasive, and it's also a private place, no intruders and no spying eyes. So obviously that would have to be paid for. Do I like the idea of a canoe, 2 canoes, maybe a ship, ship sex, or I've never had that. I mean, I've had outdoor sex, but I've never been on the ocean or water sex, never had that. One step at a time, because if I'm not familiar with a position, obviously that would take practice and it would take more consideration and love. Quiet sex, so to block me moaning or him moaning too much is also upsetting if you have to reinforce a silent sex, because the more noise you make, the better. But if you're making noise because you're acting, then obviously you're not really enjoying sex and you're not supporting each other. So that's why privacy is important, comfort is important, and mutual respect and mutual agreement. What I would like for my bedroom or design for my home is to have big windows. Not small windows, because big windows allow more light. We can look at our body's defects or perfections. The more light, the better, because it supports memories. There's nothing more off-putting than to have a sex partner, your husband or wife or spouse, that forgets the next day or doesn't even know how he looks like. So I also like mirrors for sex. It boosts your holy pride, but for evil couple, they have the case of unholy pride, obviously. So I do like mirrors. Most people would not, and they would say that's weird. I like to have basins, towels for washing and cleansing, and all types of materials to support relaxation, particularly candlelight during a shower. So shower, I'd like it to be dark in the washing area or massage area, and I like it to be light, bright, on special occasions or outdoor sex. I also like star skies, so I never actually had gone camping, and to be able to see the stars, to realize that everything has a meaning. So whatever day he has had or whatever day I have had, the whole of the day, I would like to have 40 winks, as they say, relax, make sure there's a proper meal, that he's eaten well, and I have eaten well before having sex after a long day, and pick and choose something out of the day that was positive and transform what was a negative shadow, or a positive shadow into sex, to say I have achieved something, so it makes me sexually excited, or I had had a compliment which made me sexually excited. It doesn't always necessarily have to be a sense of achievement at the end of the working day. I also like to have play with codes. I like to play with my own homemade sex toys. I like to make my own, not commercial, nothing commercial, never anything commercial. I like to use imagination, also costumes and dressing up, including wigs and including changing my eye colours with contact lenses. It's like a party. It's a celebration of one's love. Regarding so I've mentioned the sleeping pattern. I'm going to mention the frequency. I don't want to be oversexed, so I would say once every weekend. If I had been unwell, it would be once a month. If I had been well, it would be every weekend. If it is every other day, then that's the honeymoon period. So passing over being unwell, obviously. So if he's unwell and I'm unwell, there would be painkillers or sedatives, or something that can make you trick your mind to believe that you are at some place that you're not, that's relaxing, such as the seaside, like a giant screen television, is also a pain relief. The bigger the TV, the better, like the size of a wall. I like huge televisions, because it helps as a pain relief. I found my mobile phone very, very useful as a pain relief. I like I like to give hints, like looking at the corner of my eye, so that he knows that he's got to flick something or discover something as a code on my body language. One of the main codes is looking at the side of my eye so that he knows that I'm hiding something, there's something mysterious for him to find, similar as a treasure hunt or Easter. You have to find this. There could be a a riddle or something like that for him to make it more fun and hint. Also, distance can make the heart fonder. I don't expect him to sleep in the same bedroom, in the same bed all the time. You can be a separate bed and a separate bedroom, because makes the space, the heart is fonder, and also not to be separated for too long, because that's when the devil comes in and destroys the relationship. I don't believe in long distance relationships. I don't believe that he should be sent off to war as a soldier, unless it is a world war. I don't believe that he has to have a gun in the house. He could have a dog, a vicious dog that is trained, so the attacker would be afraid. Because it depends in where and what country we're going to live in. Maybe the case that he has to have a gun. Also, making sure that the home has a sickness area. Like a hospital, for example, it has a sickness area. The hotel would, I said hotel. The hotel would have the hospitality area, the welcome area. So there's always a special view in the home that is being designed in that way, in that sense, so that when it's quite finished, you know where your medical area is, you know where the play area is, and so it's very well organized. But all of this is not normal enough, because all of us suffer pain and we need some relief. It's also important to firmly decide what company is going to be used regularly for cleaning, child minding, to remove the stress, and also shopping, because there could be the situation that me, being as a mother and a wife, would want to take time out from these three things. So I said cleaning, child minding, and shopping, to reduce the stress. So that would be a treat. So would I see sex as a treat? Well, it depends on the situation, and it's also a balanced perspective on things. What are my views on LGBT and unnatural sex? The Bible again says in the book of Revelation, let the bad carry on doing bad and God's people carry on doing good. And also doing night shift again is not normal. And LGBTQ, God told me a secret about his name, God Almighty, and I was very surprised. And it's something to do from the human gods and goddesses connected to the LGBT community, actually. Not bum sex, but something to do with the bum. And I was surprised that God's name, or God's character within God's name, is glorifying the backside and the bum, the bottom, which is fascinating for me. So I've sort of broken that secret now. And I think it's because I had my backside was sore from my injury, my spine injury, when I was moving home and furniture and carrying my daughter's bicycle and being as a slave to my daughter. I mean, I served her and I did God's will in serving her as a single mum. However, it didn't always feel good. I mean, without having a car, would I want to have a car? So if he has a car, I don't need a car. So that's protecting against pollution. That there's not too many cars in there at the home, and just try to imagine what it would be like to have car sex in the car. I wouldn't want to have sex in a car, but I would on a boat. I would in an air balloon. I would not want to do it in a car. I've done it in a car before and I didn't really like it. I may want to do it in a spaceship. So as intelligent human beings, when it comes to sex, obviously, is planning to have a baby. And so, I mean, I'm at that age where people will accuse me of saying that I don't think I'm pretty enough and I've passed my sell-by date. I don't feel that. I'm not feeling that, but I think it's important to build that family so that your home is increasing rather than decreasing. What about pets? You know, could my pets be as my babies? Yes, but it's an animal, it's not a human being. and I think it's normal to take care of children as a couple. If it's a case of cannot have children, then there's always the adoption. So preparing the baby's room for adoption, or his children are my babies. So that's enough, then we don't need to have adoption. And so I think these are the normal aspects on sex preference. To be stunned by a surprise, sort of announcing or preparing for sex, compared to be stunned when you're not expecting sex while you're sleeping. I don't like that. I mean, I don't mind him touching me and being sexually aroused, but not to have sex while you're actually sleeping. That's an unpleasant surprise. That's happened to me. I only had one marriage in my life, and it is rape. It is horrible. Because I do like to have surprises, but not while you're asleep, because it's not considering you, and it's not allowing you to settle to rest, so your body's not resting, and then you realise another person is humping you as a horse, which is, I'm against that. And I had to hold it in shock, realising it was rape, and it's extremely perverted. And a bully. Oral sex, I don't think it's normal for the woman to do it, but kissing a penis is normal rather than, and playing it in between her boobs. I also want to support women who have had anal sex and want to repent and reform. He can penetrate her back anal with his hand rather than his penis. So that's one way of recovering from anal sex. I have never had anal sex, but God wants to support people from those who have been raped or forced into unnatural and abnormal sex. Also, instead of oral sex for the woman, there's a lot she could do with his penis, such as kissing and caressing it, rather than swallowing up that which is supposed to be in a natural sense. As for the man doing oral sex on a woman, again, that can be perverted in the wrong sense, and in most cases it is the wrong sense. I think it's only appropriate if she has been unfaithful, or if she has been chatting to too many men. It's normal for the man to be jealous. It's not normal for the woman to be jealous. It's a gender difference. There's a lot of differences as a gender. So whether I have long fingernails to scratch him while he's having sex with me, I like the idea, because it's not practical to have long fingernails. It's only practical to have long high heels and long fingernails during sex, because then he feels that she's somewhat in control and that he doesn't go in too fast or too deep too quickly, that it's a gradual thing of give and take. So that I think preparing your beauty sleep and your wild side, and also your wild thing. I think you think I love you. There's something seriously wrong with you if you don't want to use the creative makeup wigs and dressing up costumes and play in the bedroom, because sex is supposed to be fun. When sex is not fun and you're not playing enough as adults, that is appropriate for adults, you're not going to remain in a happy marriage, and you're not going to have friends. You're not going to be surrounded by friends that have grinning faces like Cheshire cats. To have something to talk about. I've had great sex, but not the details, not too much details. So it's important to use that imagination and splash out the colour, splash out the sensuality, the makeup in the bedroom, not in the workplace, obviously, because you're the same as a political prostitute who wants to advance her career or her education through sex, by wearing makeup and high heels at a workplace. No, I'm thinking about the bedroom. The rhythm is also important because it depends on what food he has eaten. If he's eaten certain foods that is extra spicy or extra beany, I wouldn't want him to do certain rhythms or certain patterns, and that would have to be established and identified, which as a new virgin, I had abstained from sex for 17 years now, so I don't remember what it is like to stretch. I just remember yawning. I don't remember what it is like to have a sexual rhythm because it was a long time ago. In the contrast of consistency and inconsistency, there has to be a reason. So there's a reason for everything. This could be my microphone, but it isn't. I just put it here because it makes the video unique. Trying to work out if the man should wear pink in the bedroom, yes, but not in the public, because wearing pink can make him stand out in the crowd as gay. And then I would say, this is my husband, and they'll say, oh, I didn't know you had a gay husband, why are you lying? So I would be accused of lying because he's a gay husband, or I would be accused of being a transgender. That is not what I want if he's wearing pink in the public. No way. They say curiosity kills the cat. So I had to laugh because honestly, I think I would have to apologize to people for that saying, but it is so true. Curiosity really does kill the cat. They don't like anything wet or watery. So, obviously there must be the worst whingers and complainers that don't like sex, and they would put you in a detention center or have you character assassinated for their own wickedness, that is the dislike of sex. So, as a typical narcissist that doesn't actually like sex, though they appear to like it and be desperate for it, they actually don't like conscientiously anything wet or too slippy. So they won't last. They would have a one-night stand with you, typically as a cat type of personality, that nobody really wants because they're short-fused. They have very short-tempered, and they would, after an overnight stand sex, they treat you as a type of they are a typical homophobe, because they're afraid of being sweaty or like a type of a butch or brute as a cat personality, quite honestly. And they're very good at that. They're very good at being a brute and a butch, or not being a butch and being the opposite of sweaty and thing. So investigating this, whether I would like a dog type of personality to a cat type of personality, which would be my opposite. So I have suffered, and one of the main causes of my carrying the cross with Jesus is my stubborn and rebellious shadow self that had told me, I had told myself that I don't want opposite attraction. No more opposite attraction. And I kept saying that on a repeat mode, arguing with God, where God actually has taught me a lesson when I felt I resurrected or I had given another chance. God is compassionate. God told me to accept the fact that opposites do attract, which surprised me, and I felt useless, that I wasn't honest enough. And obviously I married somebody who had too much in common with me, in the sense of that he was a type of a dog type, not a cat type. My ex-husband, my one and only, and the fiance was also a dog type, not a cat type. So I actually never had a lover, who was a cat type. In most cases, they're like alien. Not to forget, what I mean by aliens is even if the cat type is a native individual, it would still have a look about his face as though he doesn't belong, or that he is on another planet, and that that's a typical cat type of a man, and he normally has very large hands and large feet, and often I find that off-putting, thinking, I prefer a man with small hands and small feet, blah blah blah, I'm too old-fashioned, and I would complain to God, and if his feet are too big, I don't want him near me. So I made my mistake in the past, and I came to realize that sexually I'm compatible with the supposed waterproof cat. So it is funny, I have to say. Other people will be frowning at me and say, don't laugh about it, it's a serious matter. And if you've had enough, please tune off and go elsewhere. However, those who have loyally subscribed to me, please hold there the thought, referring more to my notes. If I'm woken up by the middle of the night and he says, I want to have sex with you, while I was sleeping, I would find that acceptable, because I am his wife and this is my duty. Oh, that sounds horrible. No, but as I say, which is the opposite extreme of actually doing it to me while I'm asleep. If he suddenly grabbed me and said he feels very masculine and he wants to be very powerful, and he's woken me up, then it's normal for a husband and wife who are committed to each other, which is, it's not halfway intelligent. It is halfway intelligent when you're not prepared for sex. So I don't want him to be aggressive in bed. I want him to if he knows that I'm too tired, exhausted, then I don't want him to wake me up. So he has to be aware and be smarter than that, so that he's not going to dictate to me whatever he wants whenever he wants it. It has to be a hint of amusement, and it has to be noted on his clipboard or whatever he has as a reminder, checking my health, my physical health and mental health, to make sure that He's not too demanding, not too dictative, as a typical male chauvinist that demands for the woman to serve him, cook for him, and do everything for him. It has to be a teamwork, always up and ready for whatever the situation. So if I'm not alert, he has to be alert. If he's alert, I can sleep. So it is a teamwork thing. Do I have secrets for myself about sex that I'm too proud to say? Yeah, I do, and it's to do with my hair, the hair on my head, and also his facial hair and his hair on his head, which would be something that I would keep secret and hidden, and I'm too proud to talk about on the video. But obviously for medical reasons, and also during menstruation, my period, it's normal for me to remove my hairs down below. Not that he's a paedophile, but that for hygienic reasons. That's how much I will say, a little bit on it, but not too much. Losing everything, what it is like during a crisis, and sex during crisis. Or sickness. So having breakfast in bed, particularly during the weekends, and nursing each other, making sure that we're taking care of each other, not being overrun, screaming, shouting too much during a crisis. I think keeping calm, but it's not clever to keep calm during a crisis. Too much so, because it's only natural. If you see a bear in the wild, you run away, to have a natural fear or a natural shouting. So I wouldn't want to restrain myself in a crisis situation from natural shouting and screaming or fear in a dangerous situation. However, communication is more important, and trying your best to remain calm. Maybe one day we will be hit by an asteroid and there'll be so much natural disasters, for example, where we're watching the sky turn black or the stars fall from the sky, and most of the fragmentations and derbies in the clouds would destroy the human race, and we would be on another level of extinction as the dinosaurs were wiped out. Maybe that will happen one day. So who knows, maybe in my lifetime or my children's lifetime, there's always some type of problem that feels the same as an asteroid. That would define a tyrant. So there's a tyrant in my bedroom, or there's a tyrant in my neighborhood, there's a tyrant in my workplace, is equivalent to an asteroid, comet, star falling from the sky. And Jesus does warn us, when Satan falls down from the sky, how did you fall down from the sky? So, on the sideways, how to have some type of normality as a slave, or as exodus, if you have to move home, for example, or if there's a great depression in the economy and he cannot find a job, or I cannot find a job, then obviously that will take its toll. And how do you work out your marital problems and still have that sexual normality? It's not okay, because there's less sex when you can't just squat down and say, oh, they've done that. It has to be done because you want to, not because you have to. So that sexual drive and motivation disappears when there's too many problems and too many tyrants. You cannot say, excuse me, to the tyrant. You cannot say, get lost, asteroid, equivalent to a tyrant. Because you can't do it. So in that situation, it's best to be single than to be a couple, because you will have that abnormal relationship where you don't actually want to enjoy each other's company, each other's body, or even share each other's mind. You prefer to be alone during persecution and during the attack of a tyrant. You want to be left alone, and it's better to be alone, where you're in only a few of you as a family, surrounded by dangerous predators in your neighborhood, in your workplace, in your government, on your social media. I think social media must not dominate the marriage, but the actual evidence on social media can make more danger than safety, and be on its axis, spinning very fast in social media, because there's too much information that can also be a good thing or a bad thing. That means you cannot keep a distance. So my personal preference is to be in a city, but obviously because of the threat of World War III, it's best to go somewhere remote where there's no internet. Then you cannot be tracked and traced by tyrants and by extreme bullies that can threaten your life and your marriage. And your sex, because if there's no sex, then you're not really married. You actually have a hospital patient on your hands, or a mental case on your hands, that you push each other away and not be interested in each other because of too many problems or too many death threats. It's like being part of the army structure. The wife shouldn't be on the battlefield with her husband, who is a soldier. She should be at home taking care of the children. So it actually destroys the marriage and the family life when the government attempts to steal all the men into war. That I don't want him to be a type of a soldier, obviously, but he has to have military training, obviously, in case of World War III. As for the peace, world peace, we have to make an agreement that the wardrobe will contain half of it second-hand clothes and the other half of it brand new clothes that you can change every year, so that your intelligence is not overrated by bad pride and arrogance. So again, that's so important to have that mutual agreement, because of using self-discipline and self-control in the matters of arrogance, particularly. Whether you have a poor car to boot on sale, or you would have an expensive electric car. Obviously, I would want to have a best quality car, not for myself, but one car is enough per household. So, cat-like, hey! So, that's interesting. Wow. To me, I would rather choose a fish type than a cat type, but it must be very similar because cats love fish. In closing my video, I've completed my message now, based on my urgency, not based on my neighbours' my neighbours' invasions.